Employee crime control. Business Law 230. What is employee crime? Employee crime is defined as any stealing, use, or misuse of their employer's assets without permission to do so. Assets that are misused are money, time, supplies, merchandise, and company property. To illustrate, money is usually the most common asset of employee crime. An example would be an individual who takes money from a cash register. Theft of time occurs when an employee is paid for the time he or she did not work. An example of this would be someone taking extended breaks while on the clock, clocking in earlier or out later at times that they did not work. Theft of supplies, merchandise, and company property are all equally related because these are assets that the company owns. Theft of supplies would be taking office supplies, such as pens, computers, office furniture, paper shredder, a photocopier, and so on for your own personal use. Theft of merchandise and company property would be products that are meant to be sold that a company owns, which may be in inventory or on display. Statistics on employee crime. The amount of money stolen annually from businesses by employees is $50 billion. The percent of employees who have stolen at least once from their employer is 75%. The percent of employees who have stolen at least twice from their employer is 37.5%. The percent of total thefts committed by managers is 37.1%. The percent of men who steal is 59%, and the percent of women who steal is 40%. Why might employee crime happen? The employee may feel that the company has mistreated him or her in some way, so they're going to steal as revenge or payback. The employee may feel that he or she is not paid enough for the time and effort they put into the job, so they might feel that they deserve it for not being recognized or respected. Another reason for employee crime would be external financial pressure. This would include that maybe the employee has personal debt to pay off, such as rent, child support, traffic tickets, groceries, and so on. Lastly, and more importantly, the reason that employee crime happens is because the opportunity is there. If the chances are low at getting caught, this action will happen repeatedly. Furthermore, it is also important that a company make sure that there is no opportunity for an employee to steal without consequences. What can employee crime lead to? Employee crime can lead to two major things, which is larceny and embezzlement. The definition of larceny is the unlawful taking and carrying away of someone else's property without the consent of the owner and with the intent to deprive the owner of the property permanently. An example would be car theft. States usually separate larceny into two categories, which is grand larceny or petty larceny. Grand larceny applies to higher value items and petty larceny applies to lesser value. Some states treat larceny as misdemeanors and others treat it as felonies based on the value of the item stolen. Also, if multiple items stolen from one owner happen at the same time, then there is only one form of larceny. If there is multiple activities, then there is multiple larcenies. The definition of embezzlement is the theft of assets, money, or property by a person in a position of trust or responsibility of those assets. An example would be bank tellers or store clerks who are given lawful possession of money, which is the property of the bank, and they abuse their authority. Each state treats embezzlement as either a misdemeanor or felony based on the amount of money or property stolen. For a charge of embezzlement to happen, four things must occur. 1. There must be a relationship where one party trusts the other. 2. The defendant must have acquired the property through that relationship. 3. The defendant must have taken ownership of the property. And 4. The defendant's actions have to be intentional. An example of an embezzlement scandal would be the First Security Bank of Malta. It was one of Montana's largest bank frauds. The Vice President of Operations, Rhonda DeRise embezzled nearly $3.7 million. She transferred credit card balances to new accounts she created because she was in debt. She opened up 4 different accounts. 3 of those accounts had a credit limit of $1 million each. After she got caught and arrested, the judge ordered her to repay the $3.6 million back with interest. So, how to prevent employee crime? By way of example, a company should set the tone for the work environment by enforcing strict rules about having a zero tolerance policy regarding employee theft. To be really proactive, a company should choose their employers carefully. One way to do that is employers should use background checks for any prior criminal record that could help lessen employee crime. Also, if a company has cameras, that could help prevent employee crime by distinguishing any crime that occurs and who is responsible for it.